I do just want to say real quick your point on the defensive end. Giving up 95 points, that's a lot of points, but it was on 80 possessions, and it's against the best offensive team in college basketball. Just to put it into context, they gave up 95, and they dropped like 2 spots in Ken Palm's defensive efficiency numbers. Like this was, all things considered, like a pretty decent defensive performance. And I thought that their game plan was actually pretty sound. And the thing that stood out to me is that it looked like they actually executed what the game plan was really, really well for the majority of this game, which was basically anytime someone's driving to the basket, if you're in the corners and it's on your side, stunt and recover, show and get back to your man. Don't give up the 3, give up the layup if you have to. They basically decided that in pick and rolls, they were just going to play 2-on-2 and weren't going to help off any of the shooters. And we're going to say, if you're going to beat us on lobs, try to throw it over Ugonna and Yesu and see if you could figure it out there. And it worked pretty well. And to me, the biggest thing for Kentucky was the execution on that end of the floor. And it seems like I would say probably 6.5 of the last 8 halves of basketball we've seen from Kentucky, they've been somewhere between good to really damn good on the defensive end of the floor. And I just think that with where that is trending, that's a good sign, which leads me into my next question here. Okay. So if Alabama's going to guard like this, I can't take them seriously as a national title contender right now, right? Auburn, as much as I want to be in because of what their metrics are and how they play in that system, I can't fully buy into the guards at this point. I think right now, if you're looking at it, Tennessee is probably the best title contender in this league. They just beat Texas A&M by 35 tonight. Dalton Connect didn't get 25. He only had 24, but he's the best player in that conference. And I would make the argument that they're the best defensive team in that conference. So to me, they're the best title contender. If we're just looking at the last 4 games from Kentucky, right, and we kind of throw out the stuff that went bad in the middle of January, RC, how close is Kentucky? Like, is this actually a team that you think can make a run to a Final Four? Like, are they in that same conversation as Tennessee is? Because the consistency is a worry for me. But like every time I see them do this, I'm just like, look at that. Look how good they are.
What we know is Tennessee is really good defensively, and they're good enough to win games in the tournament. And now they have an offense. So if we're betting on Tennessee because we've seen it. Kentucky's ceiling is higher, but they also can disappoint you because they don't guard it consistently. They haven't guarded consistently all year. Are they capable of doing that? We saw them execute a game plan tonight. So I think that's the concern. But if you're asking me which team that if I had to pick between the two that I would bet would make it to Phoenix, I probably would lean more towards Tennessee. I just like the experience.
Mm-hmm. Goodman?
Yeah, I mean, they got all the pieces. Like RC said, they don't have the upside Kentucky does. They're not going to, their A game isn't going to be Kentucky and it's A game. No. But they're going to play a whole lot more B games than Kentucky's going to play. We've seen it. It's a roller coaster ride for Kentucky. Not as much so for Tennessee, especially once they got Zakai Ziegler healthy and back. He was obviously coming back from the injury to start the season. Took him a little bit. Then he hit a little bit of a wall. I feel like he's kind of got his groove back, and obviously they got a dude. Like the beauty of Kentucky is they got a bunch of dudes, but like Dillingham's still the guy you want the ball in his hands at the end of the game. Tennessee, it's clear cut. It is clear cut. Roles are clearly defined on this Tennessee team. That is not the case to me with in Lexington right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just, when it comes down to it, I think you have to back Tennessee for the team that is the most likely to win the title. But I can't get over what Kentucky could be when they are at their best. And it's probably going to bite me, and it's probably going to burn me once we end up putting together these brackets. And
2 years ago, hey, 2 weeks ago, Rob, 2 weeks ago, we should have Dagan Hughes, our producer, replay your comments from Rupp 2 weeks ago when you put Cal on the hot seat. You basically fired him. You said their defense wasn't even fixable. And now here you are 2 weeks later saying, yeah, they may be the best team in the SEC again, and they could be a Final Four team. That's Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, I said the same thing. I said the same thing about their defense after the loss at home to Gonzaga, and I don't walk back anything I said in any of those shows because it was true in that moment. And right now, it's also true.
Every Kentucky fan is thinking the same thing as you. Every Kentucky fan every realistic Kentucky fan is thinking the same thing as you. It's a roller coaster this year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I do think that it's better to be this roller coaster kind of a team where when you are at your best, it is some of the most entertaining and fun and enjoyable basketball we've seen at the college level in a long, long time. And when it's at its worst, like, at least you could say this: it's going to be really, really bad. And there is something, at least from the outside, that's kind of entertaining about seeing it's either going to be you're watching like the Showtime Lakers or you're watching a car crash, and there's something to be said. At least you're going to be entertained, right?